Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Java Energy Hour. My name is Gabriel. Today, want to focus on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this is a team last year that finished fourth in the AFC West. And for sure, you wouldn't have called last year with what happened with this team. You wouldn't really call any aspect good. And for sure you wouldn't have said that the coaching was good or that the coaching was in any way, shape, or form adequate. You would not. I don't think anyone would say this whatsoever. But and this needs to be said. At the end of the day, do the coaches need to put their players in a better position? Yes, but at the same time, the players are the ones out there who make plays, or in this case, who didn't make plays. So if we have to cast some blame around, and if we have to say who's responsible for what was ultimately a really horrendous year last year, um, yeah, I think it's fair to give about 75-80% of that on coaching. I think that's more than fair. But we should also analyze and we should also look and see, well, how much were the players responsible for their own demise last year? And if we look at how things played out, this was supposed to be a shoe-in playoff team in the Los Angeles Chargers, and that flatly didn't happen. But they were in a lot of games, and so the adage is that if you lose a lot of close games, then it is on coaching. But throughout the season, and particularly, they didn't start horribly. They didn't start in a way, at least record wise, where you say, okay, this team is done. This team, it's not going to get done. They started reasonably well and lost to Miami by 2, lost to Tennessee by 3, lost to Dallas by 3, then lost to Detroit and Green Bay again by 3. Are we noticing a theme here? Then their only win on the back end of the season was 6-0 to New England. And so they would go on to lose 2 more games, one to the Kansas City Chiefs by 2 or less points. Now, granted, by then Herbert was out and Mahomes sat that last game, so I don't know how much we want to read into that. But also only lost to Baltimore by 10. So I'm saying all this to say they were in a lot of games against good playoff caliber teams. So that's why we started here by saying 75% of this, 100% on coaching. 75-80% of this even on coaching. But I also wonder now, and we've seen this with teams that have a coaching change, a coaching turnover. I wonder now too if they get in another type game or 2 or 3 type games, particularly if it's early in the year, and the margin of victory is often very slim. So I wonder if they get in these tight games and they lose 2 out of 3 of the tight games, or even say 3 or 3 of the tight games, if we'll see that some of this is now mental for a lot of the players on this team. The "oh shoot, here we go again" mentality. And that is something that can be very hard to overcome. Now, in comes Jim Harbaugh. Sorry, misspoke there. Jim Harbaugh. So, can he be the one to right the ship? Can he be the one to instill that confidence again that I think is lacking, but that is very much needed? Now, what you get with Jim is you 100% get someone who you will 100% get someone who will try to instill that culture, instill that confidence, and it's going to be a hard practice season for this Los Angeles Chargers team. So this will be a team that is it's going to be a one complete 180 in terms of the approach, the mentality, and how they go about approaching preparation, training camp, all that stuff. Really important stuff, might I add. So you're going to work harder. You're going to put in more effort under Jim Harbaugh than the average coach for sure. Now, here comes the issue again. If those early losses and those close early losses start to pile up for Jim, will the temperature in the locker room ultimately change to where they say, forget this? We were able to lose and not work nearly this hard, just like we are now. So why do I trust this process now? And in fairness to them, I think that would be more than fair, more than legitimate on their part. At that point, though, the fans and the media, and more likely than not, the the front office there would then say, "All right, it is the players." However, from the players' perspective, unless they take a good, honest look in the mirror, for them it'll be okay. Jim's college ways aren't working now. Jim is someone, he's not the typical college coach who transfers from college to the NFL and vice versa. All right, he's already been here at the professional level, he's already seen success. So it's a little different with Jim, but we also have to see how Jim has changed. And it makes sense that he would want to come back to the NFL, particularly with how everything seemingly was headed with this Michigan team and the NCAA investigations. And I think ultimately he would be able to connect with the locker room. I think they'll like him. I don't think that's an issue. But getting buy-in in a losing season, particularly with how some of those games were lost last year and over the past couple of years, I think that's actually going to be the biggest uphill battle if they get off to a slow start. Now again, right now everything's fine. Everyone thinks that everyone thinks that they're going to go undefeated, and that's fine. Credit to them. Oh, Joe reminded me that the Sixers have eyes and ears everywhere for any time anyone um, mentions their patented trademark. My bad, Joe. You're right. Oh, appreciate you looking out, Joe. Um, Notice how I didn't even say the two words together after that one. But right, I think we all see what a potential big issue can be and what will need to be faced and head what will need to be addressed and faced head on, more likely than not, if we're being honest. And so right now, why do I think that this will be a team that not only doesn't make the playoffs, but I think we're about to hear a lot of noise, a lot of turmoil, and a lot of just in general unhappy people within that locker room. And I think ultimately that is what will at least make us question, at least bring, I think, reasonable self doubt, not only in the locker room, but also, if we're being real, on a little bit of outside noise of Jim Harbaugh. He just doesn't have it anymore. He should have stayed in college. And now, granted, again, should he have stayed in college? Probably not. Not with everything that was going on there. So I'm more than okay. I'm more than fine that he didn't stay in college. More than fine that that happened. It made sense for him. But why do I think now that this will be probably a team with the losing record? And now, granted, just because the Chargers have a losing record doesn't mean that they won't have improved from last year. So again, this was a team at one point they were what was that 4-4, right? Not bad, but then they finished the season, and that was by week 9. They finished the season with 5 total wins, so it was a rough back half of the year, and Herbert missed 5 games. So would you get something of a pass if Herbert gets hurt again? Sure. But I've said this forever. The first thing that we need to worry about with Herbert is his availability. He can't withstand another big injury where he misses significant time like that. And I don't think that this is necessarily unfair, or I don't think this is necessarily fair. And it's not even a criticism of Herbert. Just flatly, he's been beat up a lot behind the coaching decisions and the lack of attention to detail in terms of the offensive line. Now you get Joe Alt, so that should help. That should bolster somewhat this fortify a real what I see as a pretty big issue. But it also needs to be said that even with the best offensive line, you're one big hit away, or you're one hit the wrong way away from once again missing significant time. And I wonder, and I'm thinking another stretch of having to miss 5-6 games for Herbert could be the end of him without question being the franchise quarterback of this team. I think you would have to enter the conversation of, all right, he's missed time again now. I think it would be closer to a Mac Jones situation than not. And now I'm not saying that Herbert is Mac Jones in any way, shape, or form, but I only want to draw the analogy in this regard only. In that it's very clear that the Patriots' decisions on offense and overall lack of support for their then rookies, then second year, then third year quarterback ultimately made it where Mac Jones was unplayable. He did not look like an NFL caliber quarterback. And he looked out of place on the NFL field. And a lot of people are placing a lot of the blame on the Patriots. Now, people that push back say, well, the Patriots were trying to play into Mac Jones' strengths because there just aren't that many NFL caliber reasons to believe in Mac Jones. And I don't want to dilute this conversation with that, but you get the point. Let's stick with the first point, that enough went wrong in New England that Mac Jones couldn't succeed. And let's consider Justin Herbert's first years. Even when the Chargers were winning, most people were acknowledging that this is a bad team, poorly run franchise, and that Justin Herbert was overcoming. That's why a lot of people, myself included, gave Justin Herbert as much credit as we did. No one was giving credit to the Chargers. At least I wasn't. And so now it's very possible that the unnecessary hits, just the complete misuse of someone who is really good, I think starts to add up. And a change of scenery could realistically be due for Justin Herbert. And it's really just for him. It really would be just for him. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh would mind that necessarily. Now, a lot of the reason why he likely went from Michigan to Los Angeles is just due to Justin Herbert, right? If they had a quarterback room of Daniel Jones, Gardner Mustache Minshew, and Tim Tebow, I don't think Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, for example. Um, don't read too much into those names. It was just the first three names that came to the top of my head. But that's what I have to wonder, depending on how these first couple of games go. And now let's look at those first couple of games for the Los Angeles Chargers. We have the Las Vegas Raiders. That should be a tough game. That'll be a tough out. Then we have the Carolina Panthers. All right, I mean that they should be able to take care of business there. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Denver. So was that 1, 2, 3, 4 out of those first 5 games are going to be at the very least tough, and against defenses where even if they end up not being good, they'll give an opposing quarterback different looks. They will make it as physical as possible and make sure that they know that they are there, which is the exact thing that Justin Herbert doesn't need to be faced. He needs to face the Carolina Panthers 15 times for a year. And I think this offense, new coach, could easily do with facing the Carolina Panthers 15 times, just getting a little momentum back, a little confidence. But anyway, Joe asks, can Mac Jones resurrect his career under Peterson? Brings up that Geno Smith was able to do it in Seattle. Fine. Oh, I didn't know I can like questions. That's cool. Side mission, question to ponder. Well, it won't be a Christian Ponder situation. That I can guarantee you, Joe. But can if we're gonna go down this side quest briefly, I saw times during the Patriots stint where Mac Jones was able, right? He's a limited athlete, just in terms of, for example, his vertical, his agility, his speed. He's a limited athlete in that regard, Mac Jones is. But I did see times where he was forced out of the pocket and forced to go off script, where he could make plays. So I say that to say I think the arm talent's there, and now people say they had a noodle arm. I think that's a bit harsh. So I don't think this is a question of does he have the physical tools. He's not the best athlete. He will never have the best arm, but I think his physical tool set is good enough. Um, I don't think and this isn't needed. This isn't needed for a quarterback, but I don't think he's a leader. I don't think his teammates spend more time defending him than anything. And again, that could have just been the New England situation. So I don't want to hold that against him, but you get what I'm saying. I don't think he's necessarily someone who inspires or raises up the level of play of those around him. I don't think that. And he does need talk about an actual system quarterback. He's someone who I do think needs a pretty decent system around him and decent weapons. He's not like I said, he's not going to LeBron James early Cavs years this by any stretch. So, but then again, every quarterback needs receivers. But you get what I'm saying here. If by resurrect you mean will we have the impression, will some of us believe that he does belong in the NFL? That's possible, like as a backup. Because remember, the conversation was what the Patriots wasted that 10th overall pick and he doesn't belong in the league. So resurrecting could genuinely mean that for Mac Jones. All right, he belongs in the league as a second or third stringer. Too much more beyond that, I don't think we'll see a Geno Smith situation. I don't think we'll see a Baker Mayfield situation. So Geno Smith not as vocal as Baker, but for sure a leader, for sure someone who his teammates gravitate toward. And Baker Mayfield, we know this of. And then you combine the fact that he is more limited athletically, And his best asset was supposed to be his film study, his prep, and the mental thing. And he just made so many mental mistakes last year, which his physical tool set can't um that gives him a much more narrow window to make mistakes because he can't overcome his mistakes. So if Lamar Jackson misreads a defense, he has the ability to scramble out of it. That's fine. Baker Mayfield can go off script enough and is more athletic and can almost play backyard style football if needed. And he just has so much confidence, Baker Mayfield, that that doesn't matter. So actually, I like the Baker Mayfield to Mac Jones comparison because both aren't necessarily great athletes. Baker Mayfield's a better athlete than Mac Jones, but you get what I'm saying. If you're trying to engage in an Olympic course where you need a bunch of different skill sets, you would 100% take Baker Mayfield over Mac Jones. But so Baker Mayfield, I think it's because of that chip on his shoulder, the confidence, and the fact that he does inspire his teammates. Um, that that has a lot to do with the Baker Mayfield reclamation project. Whereas Mac Jones, and again, this could be unfair because the Patriots, it wasn't a good situation. And remember the reports that came out saying that this was a Robert Kraft pick and that Bill Belichick really didn't want to draft Mac Jones. So could that play into how the Patriots ultimately were to Mac Jones, that they wanted to see him fail almost kind of thing? Very possible. That's 100% on the board. But anyway, so do I think in my heart of hearts, again, if resurrect just means we say he belongs in the league, fine. But outside of that, I think that's his ceiling, and I don't see a Baker Mayfield run or a Geno Smith run or anything like that. If anything, I think we're more likely to get a Mac Jones mic'd up moment like Geno Smith did when he faced Aaron Donald 1v1. That I think that's as close to Geno Smith as we'll see from Mac Jones. But anyway, back to the Chargers. Good side quest though. Good side quest. And I liked the question because I gave it a star, Joe. So I think that's how this works. But anyway, back to the Chargers. So not a great opening schedule, and we don't know how those respective teams will do, obviously. But I'm only bringing it up because that those are defenses that will get after you, and three out of those five are divisional opponents. And then, speaking of the division, regardless of anything else that you think, this is still the AFC West. So I still don't think the AFC West will be in the playoff picture good. So I don't think we'll see two playoff teams from the AFC West. But I do think that Las Vegas will be a little better. I think Denver will be a little better. And Kansas City will still be among the top five teams, certainly in the AFC. Um, but these are all teams that will still get after you. And so none of those, the Chargers specifically in terms of their matchups and what they struggle with, they will not have an easy divisional game. Whereas, say what you want, particularly with the Aaron Rodgers drama unfolding and what could very easily turn into an ugly situation quickly, the Jets will be an easier game the AFC East. And unless Drake May is truly a great pick, because all signs are indicating that he'll start for your Patriots. The Patriots will be an easy game. The Patriots and the Jets should be still an easy game for the Bills and Dolphins, respectively, as far as a divisional opponent goes. Now, Arizona should also be still an easier game, for example, right? You get and I don't. I'm not a believer in the Atlanta Falcons by any stretch. So I think that'll be right. So you get the point. And I'm focused mainly on defense. Now I say that, and I should say the Jets and the Patriots do have a good defense, but I think their offense puts them in so many bad positions that they're forced to play good defense for 35 plus minutes, and that wears on any defensive unit. But anyway, there is some good stuff that you like coming out of the Los Angeles Chargers, but I think there are a lot more question marks. And as of right now, for this first year under Jim Harbaugh, I just see a lot more reasons to be skeptical, and to embrace that getting to 500 with this current team, with the current situation, and all of the bad things that have been going on for years. I think it's better to embrace that the fight for 500, not unlike our gambling record, is really the battle to watch for, and that this could very easily become an ugly season quickly. I don't think Jim will be on the hot seat anytime soon, because typically you get a little chance to put in your guys. But right, we have a couple things to now look for with this San Diego Chargers team. Is Joe Alt, is he enough, or do the Chargers need to spend their next 40 first round draft picks on the offensive line? The answer may not surprise you. It's yes. Justin Herbert, should the Chargers consider to start moving on from him? Really just for Justin Herbert, but also just so they can reset the clock in their franchise? Maybe. What other weapons, wide receiver options should they consider moving on from if you are going to go down this the reset route? I think that's legitimate. And then on defense, can you consistently get pressure on the quarterback? Uh, can you get it from someone who isn't Joey Bosa consistently? And can the defense as a whole step up, uh, especially down the stretch, to help out an offense that I think will still find ways to struggle? And then Jim Harbaugh, particularly if it goes wrong early, can he find ways to keep the locker room together? Or will it look like, all right, here's another college coach turned pro? I know totally different situations with Jim Harbaugh than, for example, Matt Rule. Two totally different situations and two completely different coaching resumes. But depending on how the season goes, I think that question could still be a legitimate one. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. We'll be live more or less all afternoon, starting at noon, with a lot of soccer and a little baseball later this evening. So stay tuned. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Thank you, Joe, for the side quest. And I like the side quest because, again, I gave it a star, which I just